Hi, I'm Paul McGuire, and you are watching the Paul McGuire TV show, TV report, and we're still in our initial launch phases, and we are going to, well, we're already worldwide on the internet, but that's just the beginning. So you might pass the word around and pass the link to this dedicated Paul McGuire TV page. You can download what you see. All of this is for free because we have partners who are partnering with us to pray for us and to support us. And you can download the programs, put them on a DVD, pass them around, because the goal is to spread the word as far and wide as possible. And we can multiply our efforts with your help if you'll spread the word by sending out emails with the links and download the DVDs and send them copies of the news reports, and we can go a long way. Osama bin Laden, dead, finally, after all these years. And President Barack Obama said that the world was a safer place without the world's most hunted terrorist. DNA testing helped confirm that American forces in Pakistan had in fact killed the mastermind of the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attack. And with the help, not with the help, it was the Navy SEALs who invaded this, well, it wasn't where they thought he was. He wasn't up in the caves in the mountains. He was in this town, and it was kind of a compound that he lived in. He didn't have any cable TV. He didn't have any satellite. And they came in. There was a gunfire battle. Supposedly Osama bin Laden put his wife in front of him to she would die instead of him. I think that tells you a little bit about his character. And the compound was north of Islamabad, and 24 SEALs in night vision goggles dropped into a high-walled compound in Pakistan by sliding down ropes from Chinook helicopters in the overnight raid. The whole raid took 40 minutes. And the President of the United States, as well as CIA, etc., watched this entire thing second by second, I guess, on giant television screens. They're not releasing the nature of the technology, but it's sci-fi in its orientation. In other words, they were for all practical purposes there, and probably watching it in HD television. A soldier wearing a camera, you know, but it wasn't primitive. I mean, it was like really high resolution stuff. And the whole raid took 40 minutes, and bin Laden died, and they buried his body at sea. And the name of the town, by the way, was Abbottabad. I can't pronounce it. And this is worldwide news. Now, what's important is, well, we're all glad that a terrorist is dead. The terrorist leader's dead. But here's the potential danger. According to the Bloomberg News Service, and this is repeated in news services around the world, terror threat remains as bin Laden likely to inspire attacks, even deaths. And the Palestinian Authority, Hamas, Hezbollah, and all these terrorist organizations want revenge. And some say that Osama bin Laden left a nuke to be detonated in Europe upon his death. Well, it wouldn't surprise me to discover that he left a nuke or nukes in the United States of America upon his death to be detonated. And it's obvious that Al-Qaeda has sleeper cells in the United States of America and has had for a long time. So the key question here is what I call blowback. What is going to be the revenge factor here? Most intelligence analysts agree that we're going to get hit. When are we going to get hit? How hard are we going to get hit? We can, whether we like it or not, we're going to expect an increase in surveillance, and we already got plenty of surveillance, and search and seizures, etc. Because what if bin Laden does have nuclear weapons in the United States of America, not to mention Gaddafi or some of these other leaders, and upon his death there's instructions to detonate them. You know, I wrote about this in my book. So many of my books have come true. I mean, really come true. Going all the way back to Countdown to Armageddon, and then Are You Ready? And The Day the Dollar Died, and Are You Ready for the Microchip? And The Warning. The Warning was a novel where multiple nukes went off in U.S. cities simultaneously. And the novel describes what happens. The novel foreshadows the existence of the Tea Party before it even existed. And many of my novels and books are eerily prophetic. So let me give an example. One particular book, I talked about Osama bin Laden, the World Trade Center, terrorism, Al-Qaeda, and the book was released 6 months before the 9/11 World Trade Center bombings. Now, that's a lot of predictions, if you will. And it was based on research. That's why I was surprised when our intelligence community said, well, we don't have, we didn't think about it. Well, you know, I thought about it, and I'm not in the intelligence community. So there's more to come. Osama bin Laden's son talked about, who basically turned his back on his father, talked about a nuclear hell as his father would seek revenge. And that's what's concerning intelligence experts and should concern you. Some kind of nuclear hell. By the way, they were able to track phone conversations and track his private courier through the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, NGA, which specializes in imagery and maps, and the National Security Agency, NSA. They were tracking the courier for bin Laden, and that's how they found him. So these satellites and the surveillance technology obviously work. Perhaps a necessary evil. Now, I want to talk about this issue of repercussions, because there will be repercussions. For example, the Arabs rioted in Jerusalem over bin Laden's demise. Hamas is furious. Are they just blowing off steam? Remember, Hamas is a branch of Iran. So Iran, Hamas, and Hezbollah want a unification for the purpose of declaring war on Israel. And that's not good. Now back to bin Laden's son, who turned away. He didn't follow in his father's footsteps. But this is what he says regarding what might happen in the event of his father was ever killed. And he says his father was somewhat of a moderate. I find that hard to believe, but that's what his son says, and that there are people in the organization that are far more devious and demonic than bin Laden was. Now, they have weapons, and they intend to to use them. You know, Osama bin Laden trained his sons to be suicide bombers. Can you believe that? Your own sons you train to be suicide bombers? That's sick. I mean, really, that is. It's really sick. And that's what we're dealing with. More than sickness. It's like a mental illness, except they're armed. And I believe they're armed with nuclear weapons. Bin Laden declared war in America from his Afghan cave when U.S. forces were in the Persian Gulf. And then, here's the big news story. The mastermind of the 9/11 attacks warned that Al-Qaeda, listen carefully, has a hidden nuclear bomb in Europe which will unleash a nuclear hellstorm if bin Laden is captured. And this was according to WikiLeaks file that was being released, that a nuclear hellstorm will be released. Now, does that nuclear hellstorm include the United States of America? And our intelligence community obviously knows. Perhaps they don't want to send us into panic. But hey, from all the research I've done, and it's been a lot of research, I believe there will be repercussions. And it could be small, well, nothing small, but suicide bombers in shopping malls detonating themselves. But the thing that concerns me the most, because of the research I've done, and you can read my books, Are You Ready? Are You Ready for the Microchip, The Day the Dollar Died, etc., and The Warning, which talks, well, actually it depicts what will happen in America when multiple nukes go off in U.S. cities and an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse weapon, is detonated in the atmosphere of the United States of America, essentially crashing our electronic grid and putting us back in 100 years. Some people don't realize how devastating that would be. No water, no food, no medicine, no police protection. Why? No satellites, no cell phones, no, everything goes down. Because a EMP could be on a fishing boat. I deal with this in my book extensively. It could be on a fishing boat off the U.S. coastal waters, let's say on the Atlantic coast. And all it takes is a shoulder-fired nuclear weapon. Acquiring a shoulder-fired missile is like nothing. And with a little help from their friends, like Iran or whatever, they could easily mount a shoulder-fired nuclear missile. Now, this is their plan. The idea would not be to shoot the missile into New York City or Detroit or California or whatever. The goal is simply to fire the nuclear missile up into the atmosphere above the United States of America, let's say the Midwest. Now, that's pretty hard to take down because most of our missile defense systems are designed to shoot down the nuclear missiles as they are coming down out of the atmosphere. So this makes it more difficult to knock out a thermonuclear missile that's designed to detonate not in Manhattan, but it's designed to detonate in the atmosphere over the Midwest. Now, what will happen? It's called an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse weapon. It releases an atomic, a nuclear burst of energy, a nuclear pulse. It's very quick, but that nuclear pulse would bring down, let's just say, 50% of the United States of America. And this is how it would do it. There would not be a nuclear explosion on the domestic United States territory, but that pulse, that nuclear pulse,